Hi everyone, today I'm going to be talking about square roots. We find the square root of the number that is under the radical, which is the symbol that is above the x that is shown on the screen. It looks kind of like a division sign, but with an extra little leg on it. So what is a square root? A square root is a number that, when it is multiplied by itself, gives the answer or the number under the radical. So when finding a square root, you think about what times itself would give the number underneath the radical. Let's do some practice. These are some examples of common squares. So the square root is the opposite of a square. So 3 squared is equal to 9. So we know that the square root of the 9 is equal to 3. So those operations are opposite towards each other. The radical just symbols that you are supposed to find the number that, when it is squared, equals the number under the radical. It's like the opposite of the squared symbol. So 4 squared equals 16, which means that the square root of 16 is equal to 4, and 10 squared equals 100, which means that the square root of 100 is equal to 10. Let's think about 25. What's the square root of 25? We think about our common multiplication things that we're supposed to know. We know that 4 times 4 is 16, and that 5 times 5 is 25. Since we know that, we can see that the square root of 25 is 5. Square roots can be positive and negative. So both 9 times 9 and negative 9 times negative 9 are equal to 81. Therefore, the square root of 81 and any number can be both positive and negative. This can be very confusing because when you're using a square root in an equation, or you're trying to solve for something that has a square root in it, you'd be confused by whether to pick the positive or the negative number. So we have established the principal square root, which means that the radical symbol signals for the principal square root, which is the positive number. So unless otherwise instructed by your teacher, only put the positive answer when you see the radical sign. And similarly, square roots can only be calculated from positive numbers, because when any number is multiplied by itself, the answer will be positive. Therefore, the number under the radical must be positive because it is equal to a number multiplied by itself. Think about how negative 9 times negative 9 is equal to positive 81, and 9 times 9 is also equal to positive 81. Let's practice. So we know that 5 times 5 is 25, and 6 times 6 is 36. Both of those numbers are getting closer to 49. So we think about what's the next number. 7 times 7 is 49, so we know that the square root of 49 is 7. Square roots can also be in equations and expressions. So this is an equation given to us, and we have to solve for x. First step is finding the square root of 25, which, as we talked about before, is 5. So we have 9 plus x times 5 equals 24. Then we just solve for x. So both sides are subtracted by 9, which gives us x5 equals 15. And then we divide both sides by 5, which gives us x is equal to 3. So when I was in grade school, my teacher told me that we just kind of had to memorize what the first 10 squares were, squares and square roots. So it's helpful to just know what these are kind of off the top of your head. Most of them you already know from multiplication, but the higher ones might be a little bit difficult, so just try to remember what the first 10 square roots are. You can screenshot this the screen at this point of the video if you want to practice these. So the square root of 0 is 0, square root of 1 is 1, square root of 4 is 2, square root of 9 is 3, square root of 16 is 4, square root of 25 is 5, square root of 36 is 6, square root of 49 is 7, square root of 64 is 8, the square root of 81 is 9, and the square root of 100 is 10. So if you can remember these square roots and remember how to find a square root from a number and how to use a square root in an equation, you will be awesome at square roots. So thanks for watching, everybody.